fingertips above the water. You watch me drown. You could have saved me, but you let me down, yeah.
All right, Scott, thank you so much for being here.
Eric, thanks for the invite.
Yeah, I really appreciate it. Been a fan of Pitchwerks for a while, I will tell you.
That's a great compliment. Thank you.
Oh, yeah.
You have a tremendous setup here.
Thank you.
It is absolutely like eye-popping beautiful in here. Not a joke. I mean, and I've been around. Like, this is really nice in here.
All right. Well, thank you. Hopefully our content matches our aesthetics anyways.
I'll do my part.
I'm sure you will.
Best as I can,
I'm
anyway.
sure you will. I got a lot of questions for you, too, just so, for our regular viewers of the show, listeners, they already know my background. Sales and marketing has been the bulk of my adult life. Made plenty of mistakes and also had a good amount of success as well, too. But I'm fascinated by it. Yeah. And then when you blend sales and marketing in with entrepreneurship, and then you add in the web proliferation and now social media, it's a big cumbersome ball. Yeah. And sometimes people looking at it can't get there. They need help. They need coaching. They need advice. They need a pathway. Yeah. Would you agree? Generally?
So, let me back up on that.
Okay.
I think that our economy, our country, has one principal product, one principal export, and it's complexity, right?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
The more time passes, the more people have had to study a thing, the more they understand the thing, the more it creates sub-services, sub-products. Let's go back.
Okay.
Once upon a time, people made a product. It was not advertised anywhere. There were no media outlets to put your cornflakes or white wall tires or whatever. And you just went to the place where they sold those particular flavors of crap. And someone went, oh, you want white wall tires? Well, Goodyear is a very good company for that. That sort of a thing, right? And then someone went, well, why? Why can't the, Scot and Eric brand of tires beat Goodyear? Well, because the guy in the store is telling people to buy Goodyear. What we ought to do is pop up displays. We ought to have billboards on the way there. We ought to listen to these radio people when they try to sell us a couple minutes. That sort of a thing. Someone started with the problem of they wanted to make a better tire, sell their own version of tire, whatever. They studied it. It got more complex. Then there were people that were like, oh, well, I know about radio advertising. I know about billboard advertising. I know about point of presence ads. I know, point of purchase ads, rather. Point of presence is an internet thing, and that's proof of me changing gears. I don't know, man. I'm getting old. What are you going to do? So I think what we do is we solve the problem, but there is always additional complexity that results. So when you say like, okay, I've made a lot of mistakes and, people need to be guided and like all of that's true, right? But I think what you really did was you said, I identified a weakness in something I wanted to do and I tried to find a way to fix it. And that told me I needed to get this thing handled. I needed to get better at this other thing. I needed this other person to be exposed for not solving this one problem as well as I do, which meant I needed to engage other people. Every time a new player comes along, every time a new distribution channel comes along, every time a new medium for communication comes along, complexity. It's a fractal. The when you zoom in, you see the same constructs underneath.
Understood.
What the hell does that have to do with anything? Well, that's a great question, Eric. I'm glad you asked. The upshot of that is we create the need for those Sherpas, those guides, because kids who come along today are still getting into that marketing undergrad program at the same age I did at 18, right? But there's a lot more history packed in that they have to catch up on now. There are these oral histories. There's these things that needed to be passed down. Like, okay, once upon a time, there was a guy who told you to buy the Goodyear white wall tire, and then here's all the crap that's happened since then.
Got it.
So yeah, I think over time we create the need for consulting. We create the need for best practices, marketing for dummies, social media marketing for dummies, social media video content production for dummies. How's that for chewing on that bone until all the meat's off it?
Well, there's so much out there. I guess that's where I'm
also
at now.
Outed myself as a giant nerd, so that's good.
No, would you not agree that? So my premise was that there's a big ball of confusion. At least, as a 53-year-old man being in sales, running a marketing company,
Yep.
and then trying to market myself as a realtor, and now this show.
Yep.
There's a lot of options.
Yep.
Way more marketing tunnels, marketing options available to me, arteries
Absolutely.
to choose, and then trying to understand the options within those options, meaning that the differences between them and what makes more financial sense, what the reach can be. It's a lot when an entrepreneur has all of the rest on their back.
Yes, absolutely.
And that's where I think before the web and even before social media, the options were less. Maybe they understood. Maybe they had a marketing director. Maybe they had a buddy who could handle their advertising, their graphic stuff. It was simpler. Now it seems to be, the same. I think it's the same. What you're getting at, I think, Scott, if I'm hearing you right, and correct me if I'm wrong, the desire to do something has always been the same, and the human interaction's always been the same, but now the vehicles that we have and the options we have are just more complex, right?
Every year, some new manufacturer, some new distributor, some new sales channel, some new feature, some new product category, some new regulation adds complexity to an already complex oral history.
Agreed.
That's what I'm trying to say. Now, you come in and you say, I don't want to feel unsophisticated. I don't want to look unpolished. How do I avoid that? Someone says, well, you've got to make sure that you've got a good personal branding strategy and an excellent web presence, and make sure your SEO is on point. And if you're really smart, you're going to start using shoppable tags within Instagram, and make sure that you've moved to fulfillment by Amazon. And you're like, I am one person. And this is everyone's struggle, right? Is I'm still just one or two people. That's a typical founding group, right? One or two people. And I want to cut the line in the worst way. How do I do that? So they hire somebody. Some people, most people can't. So then the next move, and I think the smart thinking is, what are the fundamentals of my problem? Where am I likely to actually see benefit? And what is trimmable fat?
Okay.
I hate this because it's abstract. Let's make it more focused.
All right.
Let's say that we're not talking about an entrepreneurial software company. Let's just jump on your realty company.
Fair.
Right?
Sure.
Okay. Sure. So you want to tell people that you have houses available and that you have expertise in getting them into those houses.
Okay.
We've identified basically two elements. One is there's X available in terms of inventory. There is Y available in terms of services and emotional support, because we know, obviously, like, it's a very stressful time, right? Where am I likely to go if I'm looking for house inventory is an important question. And you're going to do market research. You're just going to talk to people. Hey, if you were looking for a house right now, where would you go? Right? Bang, 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 bang. 100 lists or 100 answers on your list, 500 answers on your list, whatever. You're going to have people tell you the answer to that question.
Okay.
And you say, okay, like, how do you know who to trust? And they're going to give you, again, 100, 500 responses on how do I know who to trust? And then from all that data, you will come up with a strategy that doesn't take the entirety of human experience into consideration. You'll pick a couple bullets and you'll just shoot those bullets. And you'll be like, look, I'll get to the rest later, but for right now, let's just sell a couple houses and put some money in our pockets so that we can keep the cycle going, keep the company growing. The study of this complexity, though, has been sort of like a side gambit for me. Like, I've watched really brilliant people get bogged down in the details. And then when a newbie comes along and just goes, oh, I know a bunch of people who want to buy houses. They dismissively hit that person with like, oh, that's beginner's luck. That's
got it.
You don't know the real game.
Got it.
I turn that question around and I go, no, it's you that doesn't know the real game, because the goal was not to learn everything. The goal was to sell houses. Like, the goal was to make an income. And
they're moving away from the goal.
Yeah, both of those directions are understandable, right? There's a person who says like, oh, if I study and understand everything, then I will then be able to use that knowledge for my own personal benefit. I think a lot of times they forget to do that last part that's so critical, which is like, now monetize it. And there's other people who are just like, look, I'm just going to take the shortest, fastest path to success. I'm not going to study everything. Now you're getting into conversations though about like raw talent, gut feel, you know. The reason you acquire additional knowledge is to reduce risk. Right. I'd agree. You just have to make sure that you continue tilting towards action as you do it. So the gist of what you're saying, if I'm hearing you correctly, is that oftentimes entrepreneurs or small business people or large business people, medium businesses, the ownership group takes on too much. Yes. Or they feel that they should take on. Is it generally always because of the financial cost of bringing other experts in, or do you think it's a control thing? I used to think the first. Now I think it's the second. Interesting. I don't think it's ever 100% one direction, and I think that's reasonable. People can disagree on this topic. The financial piece is important. Startups allocate capital in all kind of stupid ways. Because it's the difference between what you think is working, what you think you need, and then what you learn later that you wish you would have known or wish you would have invested in, or what you find out about your customers that you didn't know. It's why I push that market research part of my answer. Right. You got to talk to a lot of customers before you start making major capital deployments. Well, you don't know your market until you do. Right. And how do you market to your market if you don't know your market? But understand, like, entrepreneurship in general is overstuffed with egotists, like narcissists who don't want to have a boss. And that's the dream for a lot of people that go there, right? I'm not saying it's always the right move, but that's the dream. I think a lot of people are emboldened by suspect stories about people like Steve Jobs. They were just like, well, you know, because I decided, or I'm a visionary, or I understand. But I think market research is better. I think it's very difficult to truly understand what people want. Because it changes. And we're living in again, back to complexity, right? You know, when you and I were kids, there were two boxes, male, female, right? And understand, I'm not going to Andy Rooney you here. I don't care what these people want to be identified as. It does not bother me. Right. But, and this is the pettiest, dumbest, shallowest criticism you're ever going to hear. It does make my life a little bit difficult as I design these surveys, because then it's like the first is male, the second is female, the third is, you know, non-binary, right? The fourth is prefer not to answer, right? And it makes the data piece harder. Oh, there's no question. Right? No question. So we haven't even gotten into my real questions yet. We're still in categorization. And it's just like, if that part is now twice as many answers as it used to be. Got it. There was no I prefer not to answer in 1985. No. And it's either or. And again, you see, I'm not making it like, I love these people, but it is more work. It's not personal. It's just, but it is more work. It's just the society we're living in right now. It's more work. I was shouting from the mountaintops. It's just harder. Well, it's harder to learn who your clients are. Yes. And with knowing them, you next want to find out their taste and their preferences. Okay, here's a question. Did your dad use Q-tips? My dad used Q-tips. Did he back in the same period, right? I'm sure he did. I don't know, right? No, there was a part where that was like for women. And then depending on where it was, right?
I get it. I get it.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
My son, he's 18 years old. His grooming routine, and he's a great looking kid. Like he just has things that he wants a certain way, right? Way more complex than mine was at 18.
I'd imagine.
Why? Because complexity. Here we are.
Options.
That's actually a better way of saying it, right? There are more options. So now, whether you're talking Q-tips or hair product, right? There's original intent. There's what people actually use it for. And then you start getting into like, well, is this men's or women's, or is it,
Got it.
an omni-channel hair experience? I don't know, dude. I just work here.
It is more complex. I mean, we had a conversation a couple of podcasts ago where I asked 3 women. I asked the Duffy women were on, Shelley Duffy and her 2 daughters. I asked them point blank, from the female perspective of shopping, are there too many choices? Which I know goes against capitalism, goes against what we stand for supposedly. The point is, are you confused? Can you be confused by the simplest, most mundane things? And they ultimately kind of said, we know it's uncomfortable to say there's too many choices, but at times they feel overwhelmed.
Dude, decision fatigue is real.
Decision fatigue. I didn't even know it was a thing.
That is not only is that a thing.
That's a thing.
But it's real. It's exhausting. When people think it's of any high stakes at all. You and I go into the grocery store and we want to buy deodorant. We buy the same deodorant we bought last time, unless that deodorant company has done something terrible in the meantime.
Okay.
Right?
Yes.
Why?
Comfort, ease, quickness.
Don't you like a good
not
DJ?
Thinking about it.
Don't you like a good DJ? Changes it up, plays something spicy you never heard before, but all of a sudden your armpits are involved and you're like,
That's great.
What I want is for my pits to smell like they did yesterday. What if an amazing new flavor came out? And I say flavor ironically. What if all of a sudden, like the Axe commercials actually, or the Axe products actually did what they do in the commercials, right? Like your soulmate just comes flying at you through the air, through some sort of magnetic field. And you're like, wow.
And they look like that.
And you're like, oh man, that new fragrance is dope. I don't know. I think we are trained in many ways to appear as though we are weighing all the different options.
Okay.
We are keeping the variety, that spice of life in everything.
Okay.
But at the end of the day, dude, it's deodorant. I don't think about it.
So how do you market for a company like that? If they're in an industry which, and correct me if I'm wrong, did not the Berkshire Hathaway CEO, did Buffett, didn't he always, one of his staple comments was, I invest in things I know.
Yes.
That's why I invest in deodorant, soap, whatever they call, what do we used to call those?
Commodities?
Well, they're commodities, but there's a more
CPG?
Maybe you're on to something.
Consumer product or package?
Consumer products. He says, I invest in something that I know, that I know people have to buy.
Yeah. I get this.
But again, like,
I got $100 that Warren doesn't know half of what he thinks he knows about deodorant.
You're probably right.
Right?
You're probably right.
I think it's one of those things where people just say, like, look, I invest in things that I feel like I can talk about. Right? But
They make them comfortable.
And again, we're back to like, once you get your magnifying glass out, the complexity is far deeper than Warren Buffett is ready for, right?
Okay, so but
not that he's just. I don't don't mean to say that he's somehow like not that bright or whatever. What I mean is that
the specifics.
It's really easy to downplay the complex chemistry, and let's couple that now with the resultant liability, right? What happens if all of a sudden the new ingredient is a terrible irritant, or a lot of people have an allergy to it? They're on the hook for that, right?
Armpits are burning.
Yeah. Flaming pits. The new collaboration between Taco Bell and Speed Stick.
There you go.
Oh, flaming hot pits.
Habanero spice.
Brought to you by PepsiCo. That's fantastic. The ghost pepper deodorant.
So now you might be onto something.
You can have it, buddy.
We didn't talk about the price component though, because here you talked about going in there, and if it's, let's say, Walmart, there's like a whole section of men's deodorant.
There is
a whole like shelf. So how many are going to just buy the cheapest one? There's a section of clients.
I hope there's a huge portion of people that are just like,
it's deodorant.
It's deodorant. I need to get on with my life. But I mean, look, we're really talking about decision fatigue, right? And the people that are refusing to sample every new fragrance are not wrong.
Okay.
Right? They're conserving energy.
Yeah.
And that was the point of why we got down this weird Scot tangent.
That's right.
That's right. It's what I do, man.
It's good stuff.
Stick with what you're good at, is what Mom said. No, it's a weird rabbit hole because, it's like, well, why have I never thought of that? Mm-hmm. And then you realize you don't care enough to find out the answer to it. And that's why it becomes exclusively my territory. Zuckerberg is known for the hoodie, right? He wears the same hoodie every day.
Uh-huh. I hope not,
no,
but he might.
Well, it's like however many copies of the same one.
Yeah.
Oh, that way I don't have to think about what I'm wearing in the morning. Because, and like I mock him for reasons other than the hoodie.
Sure.
But he could buy and sell me with the change on his dresser, so he wins. Anyway.
Probably.
There's nothing probable about it. But there is like a considerable group of people who have studied this and said, no, it's a thing. You only have so much ability to do decision making and critical thinking and those mental matrices of this is good, this is okay, this is bad, this is fancy, this is not fancy, this is cool kids, this is not cool kids.
Okay. You're not going to waste that energy on deodorant.
Let's hope. Walmart is, though. But yeah, let's not chase that any further. Let's move on to something cool. I have a feeling we're losing people talking about
No. That's so you in your practice, you cover a wide gambit of marketing, period. I mean, I've done my homework.
Yeah.
Can we talk a little bit about social media?
Sure.
Okay. Because I think there's a huge misconception with every new entrepreneur when they start.
Yeah.
Regardless of the field, they're going to make $1 million, and they're going to do it right through Instagram, or they're going to do it through Facebook, or and how about this other phenomenon, which I'm not discounting it because there are people doing it, Scott, but those who want to become an influencer. I want to ask you can you give me a definition of what you feel an influencer even is?
Okay, so an influencer is a person with, and I'm going to carefully define this, an engaged, interested audience who is likely to trust their decision and occasionally emulate it.
Okay.
This is all very specific from experience. If you're a product person, you would be likely, and when I say that, I mean like typically the people that you work with in the early stages of startups are product people. They built a better mousetrap. They know they're sitting on some type of payoff for that.
Okay.
Now they're trying to figure out how to monetize it.
All right.
They've never done marketing. They buy things for themselves, but as product people, they think differently. They recognize that they think differently, and they don't pretend to necessarily know all the ins and outs.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at what influence does, it's that shorthand, it's that decision fatigue taken out of the conversation. I've never thought about buying a guitar, right? Some of these lovely pieces you have up on the wall.
Mm-hmm.
But this is what Dimebag Darrell played.
Mm-hmm.
And my older brother got me interested in Pantera, got me interested in Dimebag, got me interested. Right?
Very good, yeah.
Oh, you come on, man. I'm not going to bring it up if I'm a tourist. Anyway,
You're not a tourist that I'm aware of.
no, but if you think about the structure of that, Pantera came to that person I just made up through the older brother, and they watch what guitar Dimebag played because it's not just a connection to Pantera, it's not just a connection to the music, it's also a connection to the older brother.
Understood.
So now, if Dimebag is just like, and I realize Dimebag's no longer with us, but if he had changed guitars, there were a bunch of people that would have also.
Well, that happened.
Sport, the same way. There's a reason that Reebok or Nike wants the contract for Tiger Woods to use this club or, Sidney Crosby to use these skates. And that's an easy way to think of influence.
Okay.
Is you have an engaged, interested audience who will, not all the time, but occasionally substitute your judgment for their own for any number of different reasons, largely emotional.
Yeah. But
sometimes to avoid their own decision fatigue.
An endorsee is an influencer. Theoretically, an influencer to catch is especially the last 5 years, a very big word now. But in reality, anyone that's been endorsing a product going back to when the celebrity drove a Ford in the 50s.
Yep, absolutely.
That's an influencer.
100%. What a lot of those product people think is an influencer is a person with a lot of followers. This is where it gets dangerous, and this is why I carefully worded my answer.
Is that the currency? Is that actually like a currency now?
Well, how about this? You're familiar with the idea of like smart money and dumb money?
No, enlighten me.
So smart money plays the market with advisors. It's a stock market term, right? This smart money are the people who they've got researchers, they've got people, in today's day and age, they call them quants, right? Like they've got these people who do the math and they understand the fundamental values of this piece or that piece. They involve themselves in these high-speed trading platforms because they've got the cash to get access to those. And then the dumb money, I mean, it does what it says on the tin, right? It's the opposite of that. So you got to know which one you are when you go into a market. Am I the smart money or am I the dumb money?
Okay.
Dumb money, when it goes into the influencer market, goes, Eric's got 1 million followers. Can you imagine how useful it'd be to get our product in front of 1 million people? It's almost never 1 million people. It's almost never real people.
So they're not doing their research on what the quality of those followers.
Correct. But also, they're probably not actual followers, and I'm in
bots and all kinds of stuff. Yep.
Yeah. Spelled Bought. The
BOTs are BOUHT.
Yes.
Oh yeah. I mean, I get it. I 1,000% get it.
So, if you see somebody that says like, "Oh yeah, I have 1 million followers," next thing you do is you drill down and you're like, "Okay, well, how many of those followers are actually engaging in conversations?"
And that's easy to see, right? Based upon a post.
It's not hard.
Who responds.
These are simple tools, right?
Yeah.
It's like Instagram. There's a picture, there's 2 sentences of a description, and there is a giant spot where they can write ad nauseum. They can infinitely add comments. But for some reason, their pictures are only getting 3 comments, and all of them are like people trying to promote their own stuff.
Right.
Now, if on the other hand, the Eric McKenna influencer channel says, this is the new microphone we're using. And then somebody else goes, hey, after a few shows, tell me if you like that. And then somebody else beneath goes, I tried that. I didn't love it. Are you plugging it into a Pile model XYZ 100? That's now starting to say, like, there's at least conversation.
There's
at least
engagement.
That's the word. That's where I'm going. Yeah, it's engagement, right?
But it's real engagement. That's real engagement.
But then you still don't know whether or not those people are actually moving the needle in a meaningful commercial way.
So it's a crapshoot then. I mean,
it's a spectrum. My first example is nobody's commenting on your crap except other bots. My next example is like, okay, well, we have these little smatterings of conversation. When it's a madhouse, like Kim Kardashian is sort of the gold standard for this, which is good. You know, she should have something like that.
That was so good. I can't help it. That was so good. That was so good.
Well, I'm a big fan.
Me too.
Her people legit do what she tells them to do. And the reason you know that is because the smart money keeps coming back. The reason you can't get rid of the Kardashians in your life is the smart money keeps coming back. It's
mind fucking boggling that there are people that are doing whatever that particular person says to me.
100%.
But that's just commentary on society.
But,
that's
I mean, yeah, Kim
business
Kardashian
is business.
Yeah,
and I understand that.
What's fair is fair. Kim Kardashian is not aimed at me or you.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Like her influencing product service, whatever you want to call it, is not for us to consume. They are not.
No.
You and I aren't sitting here going like, man, I wonder what Kim K is doing, you know, in shoes these days. I wonder what fragrance she thinks I should be wearing. Oh, to sex tape.
But I love this phrase too. The facts of it don't care about our opinion. The facts are that in that market, to that captive audience, her word is acted upon.
Absolutely. But also, you know, I mean, and I have absolutely no facts to back this up, but let's just speculate for a moment. It is more likely that an influence campaign will work with a young buyer. Why? Because they don't have the same resources to do research. Now, I mean, just because I said it doesn't make it right, you know, but it feels right to me that if I were trying to reach 15-year-olds, I'd be somewhere in Kim's family with an influence check.
Got it.
Because my 15-year-old won't be able to drive, you know, more likely to substitute somebody else's opinion. Maybe does not have a decision-making process that they're confident in. Some of the things that they've backed in the past have blown up.
Okay.
You know,
okay.
Things they asked for, they didn't end up liking.
Right.
But Kim always seems happy, right? It's a little bit of youth, a little bit of, you know, failure to realize that it's an illusion. Lack of access to resources, little experience. So,
and you can go deeper. You can get kids that are disengaged.
Dude,
parents.
I'm trying not to.
No, well,
trying not to dig.
I'm driving you there, pal.
Okay, I'm trying to make sure that I'm giving you what you want, and I will dig to the center of the earth.
That's what we do here. Disenfranchised kids, not connected with their parents not taking active roles in raising kids in traditional ways prior,
right,
where they were helping their kids make better decisions in all of their life. You can go, and again, I think that's where when we, as a 54-year-old guy, when I feel uncomfortable with the styles that 15-year-olds are wearing, with the kind of products they're buying, with the way these influencers or their idols are talking, speaking, communicating, that it got there because I think there was lack of parental involvement in that part of their life, which enabled these companies to take advantage. And again, it's not a right or wrong. It's just the facts as I see them. These companies took advantage of latchkey kids maybe 2 decades ago, and what's happened since. Does that make any sense?
It's a theory. I don't know how I feel about it. I think everybody wants to feel and understand. Let me give you underlying before that. I have something that I absolutely live by. I put it on my own show a lot, which is that everything you consume, everything that you buy, it's a statement on your identity. You believe that. That's absolute core.
That's a mantra for you.
Absolutely.
Okay.
It is the most important thing to understand about what I do.
Okay.
People do things in service of their identity.
Okay.
Are you interested in women?
Yeah.
Do you have a subscription to Maxim magazine?
No, I do not.
Why not? Because no one wants to be the guy who gets Maxim magazine.
Touche.
Right?
I get it, yeah.
But
yeah.
you can make the argument.
Yeah.
Maxim magazine.
Yeah.
Right? Good-looking women. Mm-hmm. As a service. GLWAAS. There it is, right? GLWAAS. Good-looking women as a service. You don't want to be the Maxim subscriber. Mm-hmm. Even if it's only the mailman who ever knows.
Got it.
Everything you do is a statement on your identity.
Okay.
So you take that and now you put it into the situation you were just talking about.
All right.
In fact, let's make it my daughter. She's 14.
Okay.
She's perfect for this, right? I'm very careful as a parent to give her space to check out the world, to try on decision-making, try on risk, those kinds of things. Mm-hmm. And given that freedom, she will choose the ability to feel fancy, to feel empowered, to feel knowledgeable, and then to turn that around, to look to strangers, identity being broadcast out as someone who makes smart decisions, who has, interesting taste. I think that's like the real part of this, right?
Okay.
Is that what you're describing maybe as a gap between mom and dad and the kid, mm-hmm. I'm seeing more as the freedom zone of like you're playing and trying on different things to see what fits mm-hmm. you mm-hmm. and how does your audience respond, right?
Well, part of that's the parents permitting that.
Yeah.
Part of it's societal in that they have way more options now.
Yeah.
To hear about it,
Agreed.
to see them,
Mm-hmm.
right? So it's kind of like the perfect storm of the accessibility coupled with the plethora of potential there.
But you've met some of these kids who their parents make all their decisions for them.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Mm-hmm. Yes.
The world's going to eat them.
No question, especially in 2019.
Or mom and dad do all their like science fair projects and homework.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, the world is going to eat them.
Yeah. Agreed.
So
Agreed.
You need to try on these complex decision making and like build a matrix, even if it's a mental, and for most people, it's always a mental matrix, right? Like mm-hmm. what's important to me? How do I get it? What's the best of all situations? Nothing's going to be 100% matched to what I want. I want the cheapest thing, but I also want it to be the best. Mm-hmm. And I also want it to be the one everybody thinks is cool. Right? And I want it to last forever.
Welcome to real estate.
Yeah, right? Yeah. I want the one for my dream. What a shock.
For $89,000.
You're the only one. You're the only one that wants that.
That's exactly right.
That's great.
No, that's true. And so if the influencer really isn't anything new, it's just maybe the currency's different now or the processes are different. The delivery might be different. Being an influencer, is that a viable career path?
No.
Okay, finally someone told me. I mean, it's because there's people doing it. And some are, but it's a very narrow.
Not the way it's defined today. Not for a sustainable period of time.
Okay, is it because
it will become consulting for those people?
Consulting. Okay.
I mean, that's effectively what it is. Influence is about a curated experience. It's entertainment mm-hmm. and commerce merged together.
Okay.
Right? If you want to be an influencer for 30 years, I have bad news. Very, very few people are going to be able to ride that bucking mm-hmm. bronco as long as it takes to,
mm-hmm. So Michael Jordan is the exception. Like he's the pinnacle of it.
And how did he get there? By being the best basketball player the world has ever seen.
Right.
Right. So I suppose that makes it viable.
Mm-hmm. Well, he definitely has an advantage. Leave it at that.
Yeah, he's 6'9". Let's get started, right?
Right. But hit that little iconic brand, which people forget. Nike enabled him to start that. They gave him the vehicle to start it, mm-hmm. which grew his Jumpman brand or whatever.
Absolutely. Now, but here's the thing, right? You start there. I'm sorry, I'm beating up your studio too. You start there, and you're Michael Jordan, and you're literally the best basketball player to ever lace up skates. See, you could tell I was a hockey player.
Yeah,
no, I was a hockey player growing up. Is why. Good Lord, lace up his shoes. And,
I'd like to see him on skates, though. He probably could do it.
It'd be the greatest thing ever. It'd be the greatest.
He tried the baseball thing, so we've seen that.
Especially if he could get air.
Jumping. The landing might be tough.
With the arms windmilling out on the sides. And then he just hits it. He's dead. Oh, hell. It's over. Shit's over forever. All right. Let's reel it in. Come on, man. I can't have you losing your stuff like that.
That's pretty good, man. That's pretty good.
All right. So anyway, Michael Jordan is to basketball as Bill Cosby is to comedy.
Mm-hmm.
Bill has seen better days.
Yeah, but the Bill Cosby we remember.
No.
You think his material's still selling?
No. I'm taking the whole box. Right?
Okay.
What I'm saying is, over time, being an influencer means being able to put up or hold, being able to withstand the scrutiny. That's number one.
Okay.
That's hard to do for any amount of time. Like, I don't want to be famous. I'll take rich. You can have famous, right? Bill Cosby was one of the most revered comedians. And then one day somebody went, hey, you remember this is still a thing, right? Hannibal Buress gets in front of a microphone and he's like, I just want to remind everybody this like horrible, horrible thing that kind of everybody knows and nobody's doing anything about. I think the multi-decade thing is very, very, very hard to do.
Well, generations change, right? I mean, like,
and people make mistakes.
Yeah.
But the public's unforgiving. And mental health is key. I don't think it's good for you to be in the public eye for any length of time.
Especially when you obtain wealth from being in the public eye.
Also true, right?
That adds to it, right?
But at the end of the day, if you strip it down, you say, okay, well, what is an influencer? An influencer is a person who tells other people, this is what I'm doing, and I think you should try it too.
So having fame in another medium was the traditional influencer, because those folks that got good in a certain medium may be asked to be an endorsee of a product. Yeah. Here, like if I set out tomorrow to be an influencer, that was my goal. I'm not famous for anything, so I have not made my mark in a widely known way.
Right.
So I would have to
uphill
I would
battle,
have to find a way to become famous for something to get enough followers to then try to push a product on
I think those are the only people who are actually bulletproof at it. And bulletproof is being used very liberally right there.
Okay.
I mean, okay, let's build one, right? Let's build an influencer that wasn't famous.
I know of one.
Okay.
I know two of them. I know this because I was shopping for a cell phone 2 years ago, and I went on YouTube and I saw the biggest guys doing stuff. There was a guy, Marcus Brownlee, out of New York, and then he was huge. And then there was a guy named Flossie Carter who was raw. He was inner city. He was Queens. It was beyond irreverent, but he was consistent. The optics were the same. He gave real reviews, and it just
worked. Stop.
It worked
right there. No, stop. The reviews were the product. The reviews were the route to fame.
Okay.
It didn't start off as influence. It started off as criticism.
Interesting.
They got co-opted by the people that they were supposed to be policing. Just saying. Seems relevant.
It is relevant.
Right?
It is relevant.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, they got that was actually smart on the company's behalf because,
but that's not, I mean, in my view, that's not influence so much as it is the company on the other side eliminating a threat.
So that's, so within an influence, I'm confused then. Is a true influencer then?
Make no mistake, any reasonable person would call both of them influencers. I'm not saying that they don't fall into that weird term.
They get right, and right, it's a weird term.
But I will say that if you look at the construct by which a lot of these review outfits become influencers, it's, well, can we help you wield that power?
Got it.
Hey, couldn't help but notice that you were saying some nasty things about us over at Samsung. We'd love to have your input on the next version of the Galaxy.
And they fight, and they fight to keep that independence. I know Flossie has done everything from like saying, I'm not bopping anybody, but here, you know, he'll end up at CES. He'll end up at the big, you know, he'll end up there, and you know, there's the lanyards, and he's this, and he's that, and he's in this booth and that booth. It's hard to keep your independence. It would have to be at that point because
someone's got to pay the bills.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right. We had this conversation today. This is fascinating because I do a radio show on Saturday for real estate. I came from here. And it's a variety show. We talked about all kinds of crazy things. We were talking today about, unfortunately, we had a political call, but we talked about capitalism. And I said, hey, even everybody has to have the money and resources to do what they want to do, even as irreverent as that might be. Johnny Rotten of the Sex Pistols did a butter commercial in 2008. He did a butter commercial. Do you remember that? Country Life Butter.
I do remember one John Lydon doing something about.
Yes. So my thing was even that, and that was, we were laughing about it. And during the commercial break, we played it on my
favorite
my phone.
Was when he was on, was it Judge Judy or the People's Court? I think it was the People's Court.
That was Judge Judy.
Was
I
it?
think.
I can't remember.
Yeah. So what I'm saying, there's an example of like the brand of what they created was it was anti-monarchy, the whole thing. But in the end, if you don't have money to do what you want to do, you find a way to get it. Mm-hmm. And the essence of capitalism. I mean, like, you know, being paid for your services.
I'm not even going to go to the capitalism part of the conversation because I think it again,
survival
adds a complexity. I will just say whoever pays the bill is in charge.
Interesting.
And if you think I'm wrong, I would love to hear a version where the person who pays the bill allows you to decrease their standing.
Yeah, right. So got it. So yeah, you're not going to be okay with being criticized if you're basically paying someone to do it.
Right.
Yeah. I mean, people. There's been instances I think where people have pretended that was the way things were working, but they're not. They're not. Well, that goes for network news. That goes for everything.
There's calculated risks. There's always the one where it's like, no, here's what we're going to do. Mm-hmm. We're going to prove that we're for real by letting them talk smack on our product, mm-hmm, right? Mm-hmm. But
that doesn't last long.
It's a calculated risk. It's a gimmick. It's like when they let an undercover cop do drugs, right?
Like, well, yeah. There's a lot of movies about that,
right? They're like, how are we going to prove that he's one of the gangsters? Okay, well, we're going to let Donnie Brasco do the drugs, right? And that's the thing.
Yeah, exactly right. That's exactly right.
Yeah, I mean, it is probably not the best analogy for that situation, but it's top of mind. I've been thinking about this a lot. You know, it's like we're going through a period right now where anti-marketing is a thing.
What is that?
Anti-marketing is... it's the ugly cousin of these ridiculous commercials. So, Skittles, contract the rainbow, taste the rainbow, right? Those goofy ones, right? Arby's, we have the meats, all that stuff, right? Uh-huh. Where it's like a little surreal, a little, like there's a non sequitur aspect to some of these things.
No question.
Well, then, the anti-marketing thing is kind of like people... I think the best way to say it is they become noteworthy by squandering an opportunity, right?
Okay.
So they buy a placement and then they do something stupid with it, right? It's like, why would they do that? And it's like, because you're talking about it. Why? And I'm struggling for a good example right now because
I got one.
The good example I have is actually something I did.
Okay.
Like I did, but I can't talk about it. Because it resulted in an argument, and I don't want to talk about the argument.
I know one that happened locally in Pittsburgh. Can I tell you that one?
Sure.
Okay. I'm not going to name the guy.
Yeah.
There was a certain car dealership in Pittsburgh that, and the guy who owns the car dealership, I think, has become a thing in Pittsburgh. He's well known. He's supposed to be a very nice guy. He's a very unusual voice. And he goes on, and he bought 5 and 10 second slots on the sports stations and all this, and he repeats the name of his dealership 7 to 10 times in different vocal ranges.
Yep.
And when it first aired, I think everybody just complained and bitched and complained, me included, like, oh my gosh, not again. But it absolutely works because everybody is talking about it. Is that an example of it?
It could be, yeah. I mean, it depends on exactly how like how much it irritates you, right?
Oh,
or how much
beyond irritating,
or how low the polish feels like, right? There's all these different
low polish there.
There's all these different.
But you know who I'm talking about? Are you familiar with the ad?
I'm not.
Okay, yeah, usually it's like at the start of every hour.
I can't deal with radio commercials, man. Like, I cannot deal with radio commercials. 1-800.
I'm guilty. I've
1-800-555-1212. Once again, that's 1-800-555-1212. One more time. 1-800. And you're like, I will murder your entire family.
But see, you're talking about it.
No. No, because it's not one commercial. It's all of them now. They repeat the 800 number ad freaking nauseum. Yeah. No, and that they sell so much of the hour. Right, so much of the radio show is ads now, and again, it's just like, just they need to drill their 800 number or their URL or their whatever into your brain.
It's just a poorly done ad. It's just, you don't want. I don't think you really want to be annoying. Now, of course, this ad we're talking about, I'm sure he wants to be annoying because it's like a mind worm, right? They call it a mind worm, just an earworm. You get in there and you just have it. But that's not long-term a good strategy. Being obnoxious long-term is not a good strategy.
No, but on the other hand, some people are just having such a hard time cutting through the noise, and that's what we do, right? Like, the noise level needs to be overcome. Like, that's your job as a marketer, is to be heard over the noise.
Okay. Well, let's look at social media. There's a lot of noise there. Facebook ads are Instagram ads. Facebook and Instagram, in your opinion, right now, still the two heavies for most marketing?
Yeah, I would say. I mean, I don't know. I'm kind of cold on a lot of it right now. I think everybody thinks that free social media is somehow some sort of like undiscovered gem, right?
Nothing's free.
There's, from your lips to God's ears. So every semester I sit in at local colleges and listen to pitches. Right.
Okay,
it's like as a judge for the entrepreneurship classes, marketing classes, that sort of thing. And I'm going to say solidly 70 to 80% of the presentations I hear in the entrepreneurship classes, when you ask them, how are you going to drive adoption? How are you going to get people to buy your thing that you invented for the, this startup that you just created? And I understand they have to do the whole thing. They have to do a proper business plan, like real financials, real everything. Sure. I get this explanation of how social media is free.
Really?
And I die inside a little bit every time. Because I don't want to be that guy who's just always saying the same 3 sentences. But social media is not free. They are advertising platforms. They are free for regular humans as a means of attracting them to the paid advertising content.
Oh, it's a cattle call. They're welcoming the victims in for free, right?
It's ladies get in free. That's what it is, right?
Generally, yeah,
absolutely. That bar that you're thinking of that used to say the thing I just said,
right?
It's like Tuesday nights, ladies get in absolutely free.
Meanwhile, you're saving yourself $5, but it was the point of the matter. The drinks were half price, whatever it was.
Come on now.
$8 maybe.
It's free for ladies because the ladies are who are making the guys come to the bar.
There's no question. Absolutely right.
That's my point.
Absolutely right.
You think people are following your social media posts because you're posting as Albert Q college student, and the stuff you post is the product. It's tells everybody else on the platform that it's not all ads. Right? You are there as the styrofoam peanuts between the ads.
Yeah.
Now all of a sudden you're Albert Q businessman. And you're like, man, nobody ever sees my posts anymore. Nobody, it's weird. Like everybody's following my page, but nobody sees my posts.
How many times have you heard that? Honestly,
dude, I don't even know. It's so many times.
I bet.
And like, again, I try to lift people up. Like I try not to sweep the leg on people, but like you get to a point with a lot of clients where you have to have the talk, which is, at some point, I want you to get back to where you were when you decided to hire me, right? Like, at some point, I want to get back to the part where maybe I know something. Just anything. Fuck, I'll take whatever you got. Just something. Just revalidate my fucking self-worth, because
That's great. That's great.
Because this thing that they know in their belly, this social media thing. And understand, I don't pretend to be a social media marketer, right? Like, that doesn't mean that I don't have people on my team, and
Sure.
we don't set the strategy and all those kinds of things. But like, it's not my area of focus, my prime reason d'etre.
Right.
It is pretty clear, though. Again, like, real humans are the styrofoam peanuts in between the ads. It's the thing that keeps the ads from going on deaf ears. Right? It's like Uncle Mark, Aunt Marcy, my nephew, that guy I used to work with, Aetna. Progressive.
It's amazing. Yeah, it's amazing.
My mom. Geico.
And they're coming faster and faster now. Yeah, there's no doubt.
Yeah.
No question.
On the regular, they tell me like, oh yeah, but we'd like to do more organic stuff, which is another way of saying we want to not pay for it. We don't think we should have to pay to put things on the Facebook, on the Instagram, on the Twitter, on the whatever.
Where's that misconception come from?
Raw, unbridled desire to not pay.
Really?
I truly believe.
Okay.
I also think that when I dig a little bit deeper with people, they often say something like, well, my brother-in-law has a tire distributor, and it's always just like a friend of a friend.
They're hearing something from somebody.
Maybe.
Yeah.
Or maybe they're just telling me they heard something because they decided that this is how they want to do it.
Yeah.
I don't know. I'm kind of short on social media lately.
I want to share something with you that I've done, and I want your feedback.
Sure.
And we're not diving deep into it, but I tried everything.
You put a microphone in my face, you get free consulting. That's how this works.
I like it.
Do it.
I like it. When I got into become a realtor in 13, 14, I tested some advertising on Facebook. Facebook was where I was comfortable with.
It's a good place to be.
I ran the guitar for my demographic too, I think.
Absolutely.
And I had sold guitars on there. I marketed myself pretty well. Very comfortable with video. I have no problem being in front of the camera. So I did a couple quick videos, and I tested what worked and what didn't work, running the same demographics in the background. And I came across a really short 50-second introduction video that I did. And it was a little hokey, but filmed well.
Okay.
It worked.
Yeah.
And I just let it go. And it's been responsible for reaching a lot of people for like $40 a month. And I don't want don't want to give away my what works for me, but it generally
you already answered your question. It works.
Well, my question to you is I kept doing it, and it doesn't produce every month, but it produces probably 8 to 10 months out of the year if I averaged it out, which is way
if it works,
profitable.
It works.
My question is, for one person, a sole enterprise like myself, am I pissing in the wind to add a different ad in with a different topic, a specific topic, or do you think, because it's not saturation, but does that confuse having two different?
Or too many variables to answer the question, right?
Okay.
It depends on what your elements are. It depends on whether or not people are tired of the first one. It depends on whether or not you actually have something new to say. It depends on whether or not your execution, a good execution today, will actually make the other one look worse, right? There's a lot that goes into this.
Okay. So it's not always a slam dunk that if you find one that works, that there's potentially 2 or 3 more campaigns out there that could work the same way. I guess it could happen.
Anything's possible. I think everything is relative to everything, right? Everything depends on everything. If the reason campaigns, like a group of efforts, a campaign that includes some web, some TV, some billboards, one of the reasons why they're successful is the fact that they don't step on each other.
That was my question.
They're planned together, right?
Got it.
They all rise to a higher strategy, right?
Okay.
So I divide the world into 3 layers as a cake, right? There's vision, there's strategy, there's tactics.
Okay.
when you did it the first time, you were doing a tactic, right? You didn't necessarily say like, okay, I'm going to put my Panzers over here and my U-boats over there. I don't know how you ended up the Nazis in this one. I'm sorry. Anyway,
That's from you, pal.
there's some deep stuff going on this side of the table, man. We got to figure some stuff out. So
that's great.
That's strategy, though, right? I'm going to put these here,
Yeah,
and put those
I did
there,
that.
and they're going to work together, right?
I thought they would, yeah.
Well, if they what I'm saying is like, if you were arranging a group of assets to come to a conclusion, now you're talking strategy.
Right.
If, on the other hand, you're like, okay, this one ad might work or might not, I would file that under tactics. It's
Okay.
more like, this is a standalone to test the market, to see whether or not people would respond to this ad. But I'm not telling a larger story, and I'm not reinforcing myself across multiple channels.
Correct.
Right? And then in the vision category is like, what is the purest version of what we're trying to say? Like, what is our reason to be? Right. So if I'm you, the first thing I do is I say like, okay, I need to come to grips with the fact that everybody thinks that everyone in my business is the same, right? Their family members notwithstanding, right?
Correct.
And then you say, okay, how do I want to stand apart in a way that proves that I can be trusted, right?
Differentiate myself.
So basically, I'm going to, yes, it is that is the word, but I think that's one of those words that that has lost some of its pop.
Okay.
Where we know what the dictionary definition of it is, but we don't actually practice it. So I like to say, make a promise and keep it. And then it has to be a promise that is of value. So in other words, locally here, we all know Edgar Snyder, right? There's never a fee unless we get money for you, right?
Which is basically every other practice.
That's their vision.
It's every other practice.
Hell
he
yeah,
articulated it.
Yeah.
He articulated it.
Well, he made it so it's top of mind when you crashed your car.
Absolutely right.
Or when somebody runs up to you afterwards and they're like, oh my goodness, you got to call Edgar Snyder, right? Like he inserted himself into that message.
Yeah, it was brilliant.
So the purest version was this thing. And he realized that a lot of people have these core beliefs, these core values that they offer, but they don't talk about them, and therefore they don't get credit for always coming through on them. I used to do business with, in a previous life, I was a part of a value-added reseller of technology. So you buy parts, and then you go install them. The value add is that you provide the services, right? Somebody else makes the product, but you actually you have it here locally on the shelf, and you know how to drill holes and run cable, and you'll give training on the gear, right?
Got it.
Well, a lot of these warehouses that you buy from will go right around you and sell to the end user customer.
I'm sure.
They swear they don't.
So there's no channel protection.
So what but there's one that I did business with where we don't sell to end users was their slogan.
Okay.
It became the thing they said every day to everyone. It became all their chips are in the middle of the table on this thing. If you ever caught them selling to the end user, it would be so damaging to them and their marketing team and their, it would literally be a headline in the industry trade rags, right? That is your vision. Whatever that is for you, that's the McKenna Realty brand.
Got it.
Right?
I have it.
Okay, lay it on me.
I'll share it with you. I'm different in two ways. One of them is I do not require a binding contract for my buyers or my sellers. I work at their pleasure.
Okay, so fire me anytime.
Fire me anytime. That's exactly right. Which is a dangerous strategy. It has not come back and to haunt me.
Now, how many times have you said those words? Fire me anytime.
I've never said fire me anytime. That is not what I've said, because I thought my thought would be that was a negative.
I don't think it is.
Interesting.
I think it's street talk instead of.
I like it.
Instead of weasel words, right?
Weasel words.
Weasel words is oftentimes, did you buy a lifetime warranty on your couch? I did. Lifetime 7 years, by the way.
Got it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah, nothing makes you feel smart.
That was a very good analogy.
Nothing makes you feel smarter than getting that envelope open and be like, oh, apparently lifetime on a couch is 7 years. By the way, y'all can burn in hell. Anyway.
Got it. So you're saying fire me anytime. That actually, you think that
I'd go to war with that. Yes.
All right, we'll talk about this.
I would absolutely go to war with that.
The other component is
I'm Eric McKenna. I'm different than other realtors that I invite you to fire me anytime. If I screw up, you're not stuck with me. Fire me anytime.
Interesting. That's ballsy.
Well, it tells me that you understand what it's like at the kitchen table.
I absolutely do, 1,000%. Yeah, it's just I think. Would you not agree? Traditional marketing was we're not in a traditional world anymore, especially with marketing. But traditional marketing was you didn't bring the negative to the equation.
I mean, I hear that a lot of times, but no disrespect intended to any of the people that think this, right? But that's not negative. Right? What that says is there have been times when you wanted to fire somebody and you were stuck with them.
You were stuck. Yeah, no question. Yeah, no question. No doubt.
Now, if you wanted to turn it just for the purposes of the exercise, if you wanted to take the negative and put the positive into it instead, you could say, I've almost got it. No, because there was one. So, commitment free.
Okay.
See,
it's pretty good.
Yeah,
that's pretty good.
Because the first version in my head was a little wordy.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Commitment free.
Yeah, that's good. The other component that I do is for my sellers. In the state of Pennsylvania, this is not what I say, but I'll give you some background. In the state of Pennsylvania, we permit what's known as dual agency in this state. If you list a house for a client, if the buyer comes and does not have an agent, you can represent them in the same transaction. Yep. I fundamentally am ill because of that. Yep. It's so unethical for me as a human being.
All good.
That I choose not to practice that, and I want my potential clients, my potential home seller clients, to know that my loyalty is with them entirely. If I'm approached by a buyer, for that property, I will not represent them. I will help them find another agent, or they can go on their own and find one.
Clear loyalties, commitment free.
Clear loyalties. See, this is why this guy is who he is. That's good stuff.
Thanks, man. All right, so now that's your vision. Your strategy comes out of that.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
So now you're saying, okay, where can I find people who are upset about the muddled, convoluted path? Right? Who is it that had a bad experience with, somebody with bad loyalties, bad incentives, right?
Which is a good target market because there's nothing wrong with first-time home buyers.
It's a good target market because they already like what you have to say.
Okay.
Everything else notwithstanding.
Okay.
Most of what we're doing here is matching, right? Mm-hmm. You are who you are. They are who they are. You're literally just trying to find
a match.
Square peg to square peg.
Okay.
Right?
All right.
So everything else notwithstanding, it's who you are. Your other choice would be pretend you're not. Right? Which doesn't work.
I'm guessing that isn't going to work.
Not profitably, right?
Okay.
The more friction you have in your machine of you pretending or you accepting bad matches, you pay for it. It comes out of your margin.
Okay.
So, you find out where those people are. Who is it that doesn't like buyer-seller dual agents? Who is it that has had to fire somebody but couldn't, or wishes they
locked in?
Exactly. And then you start, okay, we've found that those have a tendency to be, let's just say, younger buyers. Okay.
Okay. Interesting.
I'm just making it up. Okay.
I think it's the reverse. I think though. For a second conversation,
you would know. Let's do the reverse then. Let's say older buyers.
Okay.
You know where they're not? They're not on TikTok, so we can rule out TikTok.
I don't even know what that is.
It's the Chinese spying on you, but that's another story for another episode. P.S. So is everything else.
He hasn't even had a beer yet. That was a good one. Is that the just for a little aside? Is that the video program that interfaces with Instagram? Is that what TikTok is, or is it a whole new platform?
It's a whole platform.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Fair enough.
It's used to be called Musical.ly,
but it's geared toward the youth, right?
Absolutely.
Okay.
Right.
All right.
And yeah, your buyer's not there, so you don't invest in TikTok.
Right.
Right. Let's say, just for the sake of this conversation, you're looking for 40 and ups, right? Mm-hmm. All right, so you're in Facebook country, you're doing Twitter, right?
Twitter.
But again, paid, not free.
Okay.
You'll get something out of Instagram, but, Instagram tends to trend a little bit lower in ages.
Okay.
Now you say, okay, how else can I do this?
Okay.
Well, your message isn't super obvious to someone who's never been in the market.
Right.
Right?
Right.
Or was only in it one time and forgot. Right? So maybe there's some people that we can remind of how they felt when.
Right.
So now you're talking about sort of like advertorial, native advertising, like content ish placements.
Got it. I get it.
And you say like, look, I'd like to write an article and pay to have it inserted in a local, paper or alt weekly or magazine. That's how your vision leads into a strategy. And then you actually have to write it, and you actually have to do the video, and you actually have to do the Facebook placement. But those are the tactics that support the strategy, that supports the vision. That's how this is not mine, but it is how I divide the world. It is how I see it. And if that's useful to you, then great.
It is useful. Yeah. And
if not, well, I'll give you your money back.
That'll put you in debt.
Nice.
Talk about branding, because branding is branding is not only bounced around so much, especially on Instagram and in the young.
You're talking the personal branding.
Yeah, generation below us. Gary V. I'm sure you're familiar with Gary V. What's your thoughts on Gary V? Number one. Number two, are you amazed at how popular and influential he has now become?
I'm not.
Okay.
I will tell you that I'm not the world's biggest Gary V fan, but not because he's doing anything wrong, just because his personality is just not my cup of tea.
A little abrasive.
No, I'm abrasive.
Well, he swears to hear himself swear, I think, too. That's part of his shtick.
Yeah, I mean, how about this? Gary V is that guy who's a few years older than his audience. Mm-hmm. And he has more experience than them, but he still takes them seriously. And that means a lot to them. Being taken seriously means a lot to everyone.
I get it.
That's why it doesn't surprise me. Right? This is a guy with millions of dollars who takes his audience seriously, pays them respect. Mm-hmm. I don't really love the content from a tone perspective. Mm-hmm. And it's kind of repetitive, but we can use an awful lot less didactic, prescriptive, I know everything personalities. Mm-hmm. And if they had to pick somebody, it could have been way worse than Gary Vaynerchuk.
Got it.
Yeah.
Got it.
Yeah. I'm not at all surprised. It's a message of iterate, try, work,
I get that from him.
Do the math, do the hard thing, right? And then get better. Don't count yourself out before you're even in the game. Mm-hmm. There's a lot of really good, if repackaged, wisdom in there.
Okay. Well, it's all repackaged, right? All the gurus repackaged.
Well, but how about this? There are a lot of guys in our age range who pretend like what he says is new just because he's talking about new platforms as opposed to new ideas.
Great point.
That's what I'm trying to say.
Great point. Yeah, great point. But branding in general, what is your what's Scot's definition of branding? Personal branding.
Yeah.
Now, personal branding could be for a realtor or someone who wants to be an influencer. Yep. Personal branding could be...
And it is for everybody. I mean, it doesn't matter who you are. Yeah.
Okay.
Start here. Life is Madden the game. Life is Madden NFL for PlayStation or Xbox. It's your choice.
Okay.
And you have a rating in all these different things, whether you choose to work on it or not.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
You have a speed rating. Even the long snapper has a speed rating in Madden, right? Mm-hmm. This is the essence of my point. Now the long snapper is sitting there going, "Who cares how fast I run my 40?" That's what people are saying to me when they tell me they don't have to worry about it, or that they don't think about it, or they don't want to put work into it.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Doesn't matter what your opinion is on it. Everything has a brand aura around it.
Okay.
Right? Even if they don't want to. And frankly, it's pretty crass. Like, let's be 100%. It is like objectifying and dehumanizing, the people around you.
Right.
On the other hand, it's the outcome of the way our brains work. Decision fatigue comes back into the conversation.
Okay.
Labels are effective because they keep you from doing too much processing. So I meet Eric. Eric seems like pretty honest guy for how much I know him. I'll file him in my brain under P for pretty honest guy, right?
Got it. Yeah.
That's it. And then when they're like, "What do you think of Eric?" You go, "Oh, I don't really know him that well, but it's algebra. It's just substitution."
Okay.
And your personal brand is that. It's the impression that you left.
Got it.
And that algebraic substitution comes into utility. It's useful for people because they just substitute what they think or what their friend said or what they read online or what was in your video.
Right.
For active new research.
Okay.
So you show up and you're like, I shouldn't have to be nice to this person. That's fine. It's your choice. You can be rude. You can treat people poorly.
Right.
It's your personal brand.
Got it.
You might be the long snapper. You still have to have a Madden speed rating, right?
Mm-hmm.
How do you work on that? Everybody's going to do it differently. I don't think me giving anybody a recipe is a good plan.
Okay. Because it's so individual and specific.
Yeah. And lying to people is just not how I do things, right?
Yeah.
I think authenticity and that square peg to square peg matching we were talking about in the other example, that's how I view the world. It's one of those like there's a butt for every seat kind of situations, right? Mm-hmm. Now, whenever people talk about personal branding, they're really talking about personal advancement. They're really talking about their ambitions.
Certainly.
Right? So let's get into that. The branding required to become the vice president at UPMC is different than the branding required to become the executive at the Union Hall.
Correct. Absolutely. Different audience?
Different everything, man. Right? Different values, different services, different reason to be, right? Like the Union Hall exists for a certain reason. UPMC exists for a certain reason.
Right.
So who do you want to run with?
Got it.
You got to start making decisions, right?
Okay.
It's one of the reasons why the millennials are so much further ahead of us at the same age when it comes to knowing what they stand for, right? Like, and actually standing for it. Like, there are an awful lot of spineless bastards in our generation.
There's no question.
Yeah, because they didn't have to.
That's right.
So they were willing to go wherever the wind blew to make a couple dollars more. Millennials realize that their personal branding and
who they are
and who they work for and who those people do business with all adds up to something. And there is, again, like there's a friction coefficient here. There's like, it's harder to be a skunk pretending to be a cat, right? A little Pepe Le Pew reference for you here, right? It's much easier to just be a cat if you're going to run with cats.
Got it.
So I don't know. I think your personal branding is more about, do you understand yourself? And I don't think a lot of them do.
Well, it has to start there.
Well, I don't think a lot of people do, though. Like I don't think
all generations. I think that's the case.
that. Yeah, but I mean, it requires a great deal of introspection and a great deal of research. You got to understand sort of like what is it that makes a thing a thing? What is the nature of a thing? Oh well, I'm a really good person. Well, glad we sorted that out.
That is so profound.
Yeah. I'm glad we sorted that out. Right? I'll take a shot at some people, right?
Uh-huh.
I'm a Christian. Okay. How exactly did you define that? Because it can be showing up at a place. It can be studying a thing. In this case, the teachings of a particular religious leader.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It can be so many different things. It's too broad. So they just
especially today. Like, I mean, it just, you know.
So when they say like Christians believe, and then they tell you this, like I don't mean in terms of what like the faith is. I mean like when they do polling or market research.
I understand.
This is how Christians are going to vote. And you go, are we talking about the ones that are in the church, or are we talking about the ones who are like 100% for real, or are we talking about people that are like 10% tithing? I mean, like that is a very careful calibration you got to do there, because there's a huge difference between Christmas and Easter and 10% tithing.
Amen. Amen to that.
And that's kind of where I'm at. You know, is it takes a lot to figure out who you are, and it takes a lot of sort of depressing.
No question.
You know,
well,
self inventory.
Well, self-reflection is often not kind.
We want to be good people, but when's the last time you volunteered? Right?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Well, is that the defining characteristic?
It's so specific. It's to the individual.
Well, but you got to ask these questions. You got to look them in their face, even when they're ugly.
So, would you agree? You can't brand yourself. I mean, theoretically, you can't brand yourself. You don't know who you are.
That's what I'm saying.
Or what you stand for.
Right. Yeah.
You know?
You need to have clearly defined values. Who you're trying to be, who you think you are today, and then you can start to do it. But the way we did it, our generation did it, was where's the money?
Right.
And it's not just ours; it's everybody.
No. You're right. You're right.
Where's the money? Right. And we had an entire group of like sociopaths who are just like, I'm just going to sit here and wait for my turn to sell out.
Uh-huh. True.
I might have to shove my mom in front of a train. But she'll understand. Because she shoved that dude back in front of a train back in the 80s.
Yeah.
Right? And yeah, I think personal branding starts with like a proper internal inventory. You know, how do you see the world? Who do you want to be around? Right? Do you have self-worth? Where does it come from? Are you where you're supposed to be? Who do you admire? Who do you not want to turn out like? These are important questions. Everything else comes on top of that base coat. So,
when I started being a realtor, and I did these ads, I started doing my ads, and then I would really pay attention to and concentrate on my own craft, but really pay attention to the other realtors that I was competing against. And probably, right? But probably there's like less than 1% of the realtors in Southwestern PA do marketing on social media. Believe it or not. I mean like paid marketing, have a strategy. It's a small
but,
percentage.
I mean, okay, so let's clear some of the noise out though, right? Most of them aren't making any money.
There's no question. No question.
And that's why that's like, you have to start there, right? Like a lot of people get into
like
this.
7,800 of us, I think, in just this West Penn multi.
That's a bunch.
It's crazy.
Yeah, that's a bunch.
Yeah, it's crazy.
So you start and you say, okay, of the ones that are making more than zero.
I hope everybody's more than zero.
There's a bunch that don't.
I know.
There's a bunch that never sell.
I know. And they got money in advertisement, right? Yeah.
Right?
Yep. It happens.
So let's say, I don't think I'm crazy by saying 50% of them don't make any money.
Probably.
Okay. So now we're down to 3,900. Of those 3,900, how many of them have been doing this for 100 years and have a book of business and don't prospect anymore? I'm going to say 20%.
I would say you're right.
Yeah.
I would say you're
That's
right.
the only thing that keeps the machine cooking. And frankly, 20%.
And they're not making a lot of money because they've kind of let the business pass them by, I think,
Maybe.
too. Some of them.
I don't
About
know.
a portion of them.
How about this? There's always a group of people that go, I can't take on any more. I'm fine. Whatever.
You're selling one a month.
Yeah. Yeah.
They can't handle it anymore.
It doesn't matter what their level is.
Correct.
They're at their level.
Correct.
So let's say it's the bottom 50% of that remaining 50% that really are interested in opening up the floodgates, like really want to kick it in the ass and make something happen. Okay, so we went from 39, right? Now we got 1950.
Okay.
Of those people, they're going to have varying degrees of technical and time
Right.
and money ability, right? Some people are just like, look, I can't figure out my cell phone. I don't know how to do this. My pictures always look like dirt,
They're out there,
right? Like, it doesn't matter what your answer is.
but
Like,
they're surviving.
but there's always friction in the machine that knocks off a few people here
Got it.
and there or whatever, right?
Got it.
It's like, okay, well, I'm afraid of the ad platform. I'm afraid I'm going to accidentally spend $200. There's those people. There's I will do it once I can pay somebody else to do it. I'm not terribly surprised, I guess is my point. Once you start nailing down like all the different things that get in people's way, I think one of the things that you should probably take a moment and do is be thankful that you have the low friction across all these different conversations.
Okay.
Like, you personally have very little friction across all these different aspects of it.
Right.
Because there are people who never became computer literate. There are people who never became literate.
Yeah. And so 2 quick points. I always was very blessed that the one class I did actually fucking pay attention to in the late 70s, early 80s was typing. I came into the 80s.
I hated that teacher so much.
I'm with you,
but I maligned her.
But I learned how to do it, and that served me well. Really served me well.
I type really well, but I hated that teacher.
I know,
so
but you
much.
got through it.
Never ended up with carpal tunnel.
Well,
like, she was like, Scott's not going to have carpal tunnel because he's doing it correctly.
But you had to be up. You had to get the elbows off the elbows off.
Yeah,
the other thing was for me was that I had natural curiosity and still do. The older I get, the more curious I become. I mean, in all honesty.
Yeah.
But that natural curiosity made me, as soon as I heard about this internet thing, my mind, and being already computer literate, unlike a lot of my people I grew up with, my age bracket, they just dismissed. When the internet hit, it left a lot behind. It did. I'm talking like 94, 95, 96.
Absolutely.
So the technology, being willing to adapt and being in my late 30s, early 40s and knowing how to start a business on the web. So what I'm saying is I'm very blessed and fortunate that I was an early adapter of the web and did not use my age as a prohibiting blockage, or there was no friction there. I dove into it. It has served me well.
Now in startups, we call this, though, like when you try a thing and see if it works, and then you get better after that. You call it failing up. Thanks, dude.
Yep. Failing up.
Yeah. Right. So it's like you made a mistake, but it's not. It doesn't sink you.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Like,
there's plenty of those.
Well, that's actually why I'm like. So you were already established.
Right.
I'm just going based on like this beautiful room that we're sitting in. Right. Like, it was never an existential threat to you. There are people, though, who really are playing with one chip. They're in the casino with one chip. They can't fail up because there's not a second hand afterwards.
Okay.
Right? Like, they come in, they got $10, right? And big dreams.
And they're on the nickel machine.
The only reason that they're in the casino is because there's no option to not be in the casino.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
You got to make rent. You got to,
real
build a
estate's
career.
Probably not the place for them if you're living paycheck to paycheck. But we see it.
I believe every word of that.
We see it all the time, though.
But there, again, is like a big obstacle, friction in the machine for some people, right? It's like, if I waste this chip, I don't have another one.
Right.
Right?
Right.
If if you look at people who, and I have to believe real estate's their second gig in probably, we didn't even talk about this in terms of that, winnowing that 1950 down even further, right? There's a bunch of people who just, this is their second gig.
Absolutely right.
First gig, they are a school nurse. They've got a totally respectable job, and it pays okay, right? But student loans are just
what they are.
Just a hilarious, parody of what they used to be.
Right.
A sick joke, and they're like, look, the only way I'm going to pay these loans down is if I take on an extra, income stream.
Right.
And they're super tight. Yeah, and this is another place where the young people are, just short end of the stick, man.
There's no question.
That's why us graybeards got to do something about it.
What is... So where our backgrounds are different is you are a college guy, an educated man.
Dude, I am a college dropout. Do not tell lies.
I did not know that.
Yeah.
I thought...
I don't promote it so much.
I'm a college dropout too. I flunked out my first semester of Rob Morris, went to community college, took some courses, but basically I wanted to work and earn money. I'm part of what you just described about 5 minutes ago.
Yeah. And that goes back to the early part of our conversation where we were saying, the complexity keeps piling on, but there are some people who just go, look, just pay attention to the mission, right? Just focus on the actual target, not learning everything, right?
Yeah. There was nothing special there for me, but the eye was always on the prize, and I think I used competing against college graduates, and not in a demeaning way, but that was motivation for me. It was motivation for me in corporate America. It was always like, you're telling me I can't do something, or I can't have that job. Why can't I have that job? I'm outperforming my cohorts here. So there was always that, but that's...
I had that early. I don't think... No, for real. I really had a oh my God, right? And then I realized... See, I had a different experience because I got laid off by 2 major telecom corporations right out of my gate, right in the early part of my career. I worked for AT&T. AT&T downsized. 40,000 people got laid off.
Yeah.
I worked for MCI WorldCom, and the guy got busted for stock fraud, Bernie Evers, and 40,000 people got laid off. And now I didn't care about these places that were college degree required because those were the type of companies that would write that in a description.
No question. Yeah, no question. I work for AT&T, I know.
And it was just, you go, okay, maybe they don't know so much.
Right.
And I also did not want to be anywhere near a big company again after that. I had a really bad taste in my mouth.
You were scarred, yeah.
Well,
Absolutely.
I was angry. I was young, and I had plenty of anger and energy to spare, and I just threw it all in the fireplace and let it rip. And, I was absolutely just 100%, you did not want to be around me. Because everything I thought I knew about how things worked was now proven to be a lie. So... that's the first time I went out on my own. I was 23.
Okay.
After the MCI blow up, and I started basically writing copy for people.
Wow. Okay.
There's 40,000 people in the telecom industry that were all looking for jobs.
Right.
And there was 5. There was 5 jobs, and every one of those jobs was worse than the last. So, and I just looked at my wife, and we were. We weren't married yet? I can't remember. It's been a long time.
Was it early 90s, late 80s?
No. This was early 2000s.
MCI.
Yeah.
MCI was
World
around
Cup.
that long?
Yeah, absolutely.
Really?
Bernie didn't go to jail till 2003.
I guess.
They broke us up in 2002.
That's right. That's right. Yep.
So yeah, I was a parent. I got bills to pay. So I'm look, one thing I know 100% that I'm good at is communicating value, right? That's what I think sales is. It's identifying value and then communicating it to someone else. Eric, this microphone is great because it's going to make you sound rich and it's going to cut out the background noise. That's me identifying value and communicating it to someone else.
Right.
But a lot of people were bad at it, especially small businesses. So I started my own thing. That's how we did it. You know, I'm like, look, back then, not every company had a website. In fact, most of them didn't. So I'm like, look, you think you need 5 pages, but you don't have 5 pages. Like, you don't even have those 5 basic brochureware website pages written. I will write them for you.
Got it.
You will sound the way you want to sound.
Yeah.
Let me get this done for you.
Right.
And then, you know, bunch of lessons, bunch of corrections, bunch of, you know, different experiences, that sort of a thing. I end up in a job. End up pretty good at it, you know. You know, rise all the way up to like executive leadership, all that stuff.
Right.
And,
right.
every time you look at the decision that was made to hire me, to work with me, to contract me, the college thing didn't come up. It really didn't.
It's fascinating, isn't it?
Well, because at that point, I was square peg to square peg, right?
Got it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Absolutely right.
It was
Absolutely.
Just, like, this dude did this cool thing. We should get him in here.
So what's your thoughts on college today? It's a loaded question, I know that, but
There are so many ways it can go. And I'll pick my battles. How about this?
okay.
I think there is a cottage industry of people who are trying to delegitimize people who know things.
Okay.
I think the internet tells people what they want to hear because it's not hard to find your way into a room where someone agrees with you. If you don't believe in what your doctor told you, there is a discredited doctor from New Hampshire who has a website and tells you that you can fix it all with, I don't know.
Vitamins.
Yeah.
It's
That
extremely
you can only buy from him, right?
Extremely dangerous landscape.
But
It's there.
they're the loudest screaming people on the Pittsburgh Post-Gazette website when somebody says malpractice lawsuit, and it's like, see, I told you doctors are bullshit.
You're so true. It's so true. Yeah.
So I think college has value, but it's not the only thing that has value.
Agreed.
I advise over at Pittsburgh Technical College. Like I sit on the board for the advisory board for the one school. And you know, for 20, 21 months for that program, you can come out, you can make 40, 50 grand. Right? You got $20,000 in debt. You don't even have a full 2 years of education.
Right.
And you can like literally do something useful. And at an entry level,
Right.
you're getting in at, let's say 35 as a floor. Right? And if you get one of the really, really sweet jobs, you could be at 50 or 60.
Yeah.
Right.
Agreed.
So college is good, but it's not the only good thing.
I think college is wonderful if you have a passion as a high schooler for a certain field. Whether and again, the field that my passion might become because there was parental push. The passion could become because it's just something that's just innately in you. And if it's a technical field, indeed, like engineering, if it's sciences, if it's medical,
Yeah.
I think there's nothing wrong with pursuing that. I will warn any young person that if you pursue that, be aware that you're going to have to work exceptionally hard to pay off the debt you're going to incur, because those learning institutions are very expensive.
That's all true. Yeah. But, you know, there are some fields that you frankly do not need to get a degree in.
No question.
If that's what you're
Look
interested
what I do
in.
for a living. I mean, like, and would you not argue that
Go on.
I went to college in the 80s?
Yep.
I flunked out of college in the 80s. The curriculum was, there was fucking sales classes, not marketing. I took those too.
Yeah.
But there was like sales classes in my first 2 semesters there. I went to them because I wanted to be a salesperson.
Yeah.
It was in me. I don't know what the hell I was learning. I don't know if it was, I don't know what. I didn't learn much. I flunked out. I guess what I'm saying is nothing that I've ever been taught by anything. Let me phrase that. I have learned from reading. I'm a big reader. I've learned a lot from reading, and I would encourage anyone that doesn't read needs to pick up a book today. Anything, just start. But there's no substitute for experience and being smart enough to watch, observe, and learn.
Yeah, of
And
course.
it's hard to explain that to some young people. I'd struggle sharing that because they dismiss it. Like they want to. I get often asked by people, new realtors, people that want to get into the guitar business, people want to sell things online. They want that quick. They want that quick answer. This is how you did it. I want to do it. This is it.
Hang on. First of all, you can't give advice.
I found out.
No. Take it.
I found out.
I'm the worst person to say this because I try to give it out. Okay. And I wish I could tell you whose quote this is, but it was like, wise people don't need it and fools don't follow it.
Yeah.
You know,
Right on.
Yeah. You know, you can't carry around the anger of when people don't listen to you, right? Because
I did for a while.
Yeah, I know.
I gave that up
We
a while
all did.
ago.
We all did. Because once you realize you're like, hey, I got some stuff figured out. Look. You realize that there were people in your history that did that to you, and you gave them the exact same treatment.
That's exactly right.
Yeah.
Exactly right.
And your parents were first in line. And
yes, they were.
yeah, trust me, I'm living it. I am living it. But I think, you know, back on target, right? The personal branding thing, the marketing thing, it all comes down to good fit and being nimble and knowing how many strikes you have before you're out of the game, right?
That's good. That's good.
So, you know, if you can fail and learn from it, great. If you can't fail, like if it's like an existential threat to you, failure is then you need to know that. And you need someone who loves you to tell you the truth.
Right.
Right?
Right.
This is why real friends are hard to come by that tell you the actual truth, right?
No one wants to hear the truth.
Well, I disagree. I think if it comes from a place of love, they will hear you, right? But I don't think there's a lot of people you'll accept it from. It's got to be somebody who really knows what they're talking about, who goes, okay, look, you suck at this. I love you. I will always love you, but you are 100% hot garbage. Everyone groans when you say that you're going to do this thing. And if you want to keep doing it, you're doing it for you, and I can stop because we're cool.
Right.
Right? But just understand, we think you're going to fail, and you're going to be 2 years in to these student loans, and then you're going to fail.
Yeah.
And then you're going to still have to pay them, right? I walked away from college, but I paid for it out of my pocket.
I did too.
Because it was cheap enough to do so back then. University of Pittsburgh was $3,300 per term in the 90s. Per term.
Yeah.
In-state, obviously.
I get it.
So when I walked away, I walked away.
Got it.
There was no debt hanging over my head.
Yeah, me too.
Totally different equation. In-state now is like 20.
It's insane. And why is that?
I don't even want to know.
Supply demand.
At this point, it's just going to make me angry.
It can't be, and it's and unfortunately, entry is not equal. There's not a lot of equality in entry. There's not accessibility.
I absolutely hated my experience. Let's start there. Right, I hated my experience. Okay. I did not enjoy myself.
Okay.
If there's one thing I found, it's that there's only one thing in this world that I'm afraid of, and it is sitting still all day in a classroom.
Yeah, I don't like that either.
I could walk out here and get hit by a bus. I don't care. I have made my peace with death.
Yeah.
Okay?
Yeah.
I'm kind of worried about heights. That's basically it.
Got it.
The one thing I have nightmares about
is sitting still.
Is, hey, you have to sit here for 8 hours and take notes and hope that you remember the things I want you to remember. Nah, I'm good, bud.
So do we need to turn education on its head? I mean, here you are working with sales and marketing with companies. You're seeing, and think about that whole field is like there's elements of psychology in that, analytics. It's everything. Sales and marketing really does encompass a lot of the human condition.
Yep.
Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, absolutely. But it's also, again, matching, right? There are people who hate my ever-loving guts. I need to know which ones that are working and which ones
stay
aren't.
away from.
Yeah, dude.
I get it. Yeah, I get it. I totally get it.
You could keep hitting on the girl who doesn't want to date you, but you're wasting your time.
Yeah. And the sooner you figure that out, the better your life will be.
True.
And the better your business will be.
True.
Conversely with marketing, right?
There are no bonus points for suffering.
All right, so talk a little bit about reading for you. I want to throw a couple names out there before we get there, so you know where I'm coming from. I got on the self-development wagon really early.
Did you now?
I got sucked in, buddy, and but I guess it was a journey for me, and I kept searching. Where all my other friends were like thinking I was out of my mind. I'm the jackass driving around with the Jim Rohn CDs in my car and all this stuff. And I guess my point is, I went through Robbins and oh my gosh.
Probably did Zig Ziglar.
I did Zig. No, I got a lot out of Zig, actually.
I love Zig. I mean,
it ended up.
How about this? My dad was a Zig guy.
Oh, right on.
So that's how I know Zig.
Okay. I ended up really settling in the late 90s after all, like maybe 15 years of really diving into stuff. I said to myself, I got this, I dig Anthony Robbins a lot. I don't dig the drama about all this stuff, the firewalking, him yelling at, I'm not into the whole presentation, but
I have no idea what you're talking about.
The message sounded good.
I really don't have any idea.
No.
I stay out of this world entirely.
So hear me out.
Yeah.
So I found a guy named Jim Rohn who was apparently the guy that Robbins learned from.
Oh, okay.
Minus all of it. Minus all of the firewalking.
Well, the stuff that Robbins says is his showmanship or whatever, right?
Correct.
Or his take on it, yeah.
Correct. But it's amazing when you were talking here tonight and today, and some of the lessons that you learned, it's right out of Rohn's stuff. His stuff it made such an impactful message to me.
Yeah.
That everything else that I kind of dibbed and dabbed and looked at fell short of that. It was like an old grandfather talking to you, and the books were free. There was nothing to buy.
Right.
Everything was available for nothing.
Yeah.
Right. Did any of that stuff, the sales training, the personal development training, did you find any of it ever valuable to you? Did you even experiment to some degree with any of those folks?
None of the personal development stuff.
Okay.
I have never touched it.
Okay.
I'm given to navel gazing more than your average bear as it is.
All right.
I didn't need to necessarily overwork that muscle. I mean, God, all you have to do is listen to any of the answers I've given you. You can understand that I've spent way too much time ruminating on what the definition of is.
Well, you've been very successful, my friend. So whatever you've done has been pretty damn good.
Thanks, man. I don't think I'm that successful. I will be, but I'm not there yet.
Okay. I'll buy into that.
I spent a lot of time sharpening my axe, right? It's the old Abe Lincoln quote about, it's like if they gave me 8 hours to cut down a tree, I'd spend the first 3 sharpening my axe, right?
Right.
Or whatever the number is.
Something
I don't know.
like
I just work here. What the hell? Anyway. Ow, that used to be my knee. See, this is what
Gotta watch out. Yeah, this
is what I get for changing positions. I tell people in my own studio.
You say everybody's very comfortable over there, pal.
I'm twitchy. I just told you I don't sit still well. That's the same thing I tell people in my own studio. I'm like, don't move. Whatever you do, don't move. So on the personal development stuff, I don't know if I like it or don't like it. I've never touched it.
Really?
Not one time.
I'm really surprised by that.
I have a pretty simple worldview.
Mm-hmm.
I think you live one time. I think it's really easy to look at it as this big dramatic thing, but it's not.
Okay.
No one's looking at you. No one cares.
No question about that. I agree.
Everyone thinks that I can't do that because everyone's looking at me. No, they're not. That's more true now than it was when I first started thinking about it, because now they're looking at their phones at least, right? Mm-hmm. Like when you're a kid, you think, I can't do this thing that makes me different because everybody will see. No one's going to see. They can't see what happens in their own family.
No one cares.
No one cares.
That's the
They're
bigger
not
thing
thinking
for
about
me.
you.
Yeah,
If there's one thing I could go and tell every 5th grader in the country, it's no one is paying attention.
Right.
You're okay. You're normal. It's going to be fine.
Yeah, I'm with you.
Right?
I'm with you.
Don't burn your fuel on this.
Right.
I am very much and I use that wording every time I talk about it. What do you burn your fuel on? Because then this evokes those thoughts of
right.
those space movies where they're like, oh, we don't have enough to get home, right? Like you have to conserve that fuel.
Right.
And again, decision fatigue and all that stuff is the same church, different pew, right? It's what do you want to burn your fuel on? What do you want to have stress about? What do you want to go gray over? You get to pick. You want to get stress over how, somebody might be looking at you while you decide to learn a new skill. So you don't want to suck at anything ever. So you're not going to get good at anything ever. That's on you. I can't help you there, right? But what do you want to burn your fuel on is a big part of my thing, right? Is just like, okay, do you want to be good at what you do? Do you want to, do you want to model yourself after somebody in particular? And then try, fail, try again, fail less, try again, fail a little bit less again. Get better, get better, get better, get better, get better.
Modeling is the word you said, modeling.
Yeah.
That was Anthony Robbins' tactic. He didn't invent it, but I'm saying that was something that was introduced to me by his stuff. And one of the few things I got out of his books in the late 80s was modeling, and I used that in my sales career tremendously well. It was almost like taking candy from a baby. And I didn't talk about it with a lot of people because it sounded a little creepy, but the whole modeling of emulation and connecting and taking in.
So who were you modeling at that point?
No, I was modeling anyone that I sat in front of.
Oh, you were mirroring.
Mirroring. Okay, maybe it was mirroring then.
That's the term I grew up with. That doesn't make me right.
That was such an empowerful thing for me as a 20-year-old, 21-year-old kid learning sales.
Yep.
Because back then it was really face-to-face sales.
You find a lot of mirroring in the car business, I assume, because the car business and the real estate business have a lot of analogs between each other. I assume they teach it quite a bit in the real estate business as well. Mirroring, for those of you that don't know, is you match the other party in terms of intensity, in terms of cadence, in terms of how much are they using their hands to speak.
Amen.
And then because people buy from people that they think understand them and that they think that they understand. So if you're like me, then you probably understand what I'm going through, and then we are in common cause, right? But that has its ugly side effects too, right? That also means that, like, if you're constantly spoon-fed sugar, if you're constantly given just people who are like you, right? That means that when you need to hear something, they might not tell you.
Exactly right.
Right. Like the hard truth may evade you because you now only accept things from people who are like you.
And that's a great lesson in life too. My life got much better when I expanded my social circle and then narrowed it down to people that challenged me, to be around people who challenged me. And that was and it was tough because you have to let go of some relationships, some ego. You have to let go of a lot of stuff.
Ego is a real hard thing.
There's no question.
Yeah.
There's no question about that. So, but are you a reader? Do you read a lot? Do you seek out other knowledge? Do you have time for it?
So I read, but I never read fiction. That's not like a brag. I just don't.
I don't either.
I would say what I read is almost always in service of what I'm working on. Just trying to learn something a little bit different, or, how other people are seeing things. I like biographies. That's what I would read for fun. But I can't say the last time I really read a biography. I think the last one I read was probably, 3 or 4 years ago now. It was when Ressa Aslan did the book about Jesus Christ from a historical perspective.
I heard about that. Yeah,
it was interesting because what they did was they took all of the faith out of it. They just said, like, here's the best historical representation.
Right.
Those kinds of things. I like biographies because it helps you to understand context. Like, people,
very much so.
Yeah, you need context for people.
Very much so.
And it would be really easy for me just to sit here and be like, Nikola Tesla good, Thomas Edison bad, right?
Yeah.
But when you have the nuance of the context, it actually starts to make more sense.
Correct.
Right.
Correct.
But the other things I read are, nerd manuals for what I do, man. Like, I love.
I knew that was going to be your answer. Because you have to. You have to.
Well, what I'm talking about like commonly available books.
Right,
that,
right.
Frankly, you've probably read too. Like Never Eat Alone was a fantastic book. Keith Ferrazzi's actually from the area too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. What's another one that I loved? I actually went back and reread recently the Miller Hyman Strategic Selling textbook, which, oh, dude, yeah, boy.
I think I was required to read that at one point in my time.
That's the only reason yeah. But it was one of those things where
timeless, yeah.
I was like, you know what? I've been practicing it for so long. Maybe it's time now to go back and recheck it out.
And that's healthy. Would you not agree? It's healthy going back.
Well, considering how like I use that.
Got it.
Every day.
Yeah.
Like I use that thought process every day. So
all right.
And then the rest of it is blogs. I scour the internet. I read the news.
Yeah.
I read the tech stuff. I read I read a lot. You know, one of the things I think, again, back to context, is like you have to keep up with current events,
especially in your field. I think.
It's real easy to make a mistake because you didn't understand what the national conversation was.
Absolutely right.
Yeah, but also it's really hard to get back in. If you fall out, it's really hard to get back in.
Well, you got to catch up. It's hard to catch up, I would imagine.
Well, but the meanings also change if you didn't live through them.
Got it. Oh, good. Yep, I get it.
You can understand Vietnam, right? You can totally like talk to Uncle Frank or watch the History Channel or whatever. There's something different about like learning things in the drip feed of the news media that makes you understand it in a different light, in a different way. Like this impeachment thing we're going through right now, right? You find that when new evidence comes out, when new hearings happen, it's only like a 5-degree change today and a 10-degree change tomorrow. But like you've had time to adopt one viewpoint before learning the next thing and the next thing and the next thing. Context is key.
Context is everything.
Yeah.
There's no question.
Yeah.
Last question for you.
Do it.
Well, two. The first question I'm going to ask you is, will you come back and see me? Because this is awesome.
Yeah.
Content's amazing. I'd love you to come back on a regular basis when you have time.
Sure.
And we'll riff and keep doing our thing here.
Absolutely.
The final question would be, it's twofold.
So it's really three. We started with one. We went to two.
I'm not good at math.
Now we're at three.
Public school, Cornell. I'm just kidding.
That's fantastic.
I survived. Can you be offended? Don't answer yet. Can you be offended by anything? Do you let yourself become offended? Whatever that word means anymore.
I don't know. I don't think I'm really built for offense, but go on.
Okay. And what would your definition be of being? What would your definition be of offended?
Okay.
Because it's such a big thing in today's society. Would you not agree?
I think I'm going to give you some real weird, like X-Files.
Lay it on me.
Conspiracy theory.
Lay it on me.
The reason offended and outrage is such a part of the conversation right now is that it's been weaponized by people like me. Less scrupulous versions of me. We talked earlier about how the most important thing is to rise above the noise level, right?
Correct.
Okay, so I want you to talk about a thing. How do I do it? There are certain buttons that when pressed, you will react. Now, we can go, let's start off with the very extreme. 9/11. Something like that happens, you will react. Now, I'm not going to stage 9/11, so that's obviously out. But I recognize that there is something so extreme that it automatically elicits response. Now, let's suck all the emotion out of it for a moment, because I understand 9/11 is a very emotional thing. But if you looked at it as a reptile, just completely devoid of emotion, 9/11 is the greatest thing to happen to CNN and Fox News in the last 20 years.
There's no question.
Right? Obviously, they didn't make it happen. But if they could, and nobody died, you could make the argument that they might. I'm not saying, this is not an accusation against anyone's character. This is purely an academic thing I'm doing.
I'm following you.
Because what I'm doing is reduction to the ridiculous. I'm saying, like, if we can just make a giant, blinking, stupid version of this conversation, it will make it easier for everyone. So if you could push this button and make everybody consume your product, or at least talk about it, that's one version of it, right? The version we're talking about today in the sort of daily, national conversation is just because this person said this thing back in 1987, should they be off television? Or just because this company ran an ad with this collection of people kissing each other, should we be offended? It's the wrong question. The right question is, who makes money from me talking about this? Who makes money from this? Remember Cheerios did the ad with the multiracial family?
Yes, I do.
Yeah. And redneck shitbirds from sea to shining sea were like, that's not America.
I remember.
Yeah. Okay. I'm just saying.
I get it. But it was part of the national discussion, and how many fucking boxes of Cheerios did they sell?
I hope a lot.
I'm sure they did.
I hope a lot.
I'm sure they did.
I hope they went absolutely to town with it, right? Because, frankly, like being black in America, right, I would have been a little bit happy to see that it wasn't radioactive for me to have a white wife.
I get it. No, I get it.
If I were black in America.
Right.
Like, hey, look, there's a black guy in a commercial with a white wife and the house didn't catch fire, right? Maybe we could do at least one more of these before I die, right? I don't think they necessarily, with the Cheerios commercial, were trying to push the button. Right. I think people noticed that the button got pushed. And then people went, wait a minute, what's our version of black guy, white wife?
Right.
What?
Correct.
How do we push that button and sell our Cheerios, whatever we might be?
Correct.
I don't care about offense.
Yeah.
It's a chess piece.
So you're taking a purely pragmatic look at it all.
I think everyone except the dumb money takes a pragmatic look at it.
Okay.
I think the dumb money goes, America. What about my values?
See, I take the standpoint, and I do it on my radio show occasionally, Scott, and I say, I have made a decision a couple of years ago, but I'm just not going to be offended by anything.
Okay.
No, I really don't.
I lied to you.
I don't think I'm offended by anything. I just don't.
There are things that do offend me, but let's be clear what exactly we're talking about, right?
Okay.
There are things that can offend me, but I make it a point for it to be a very high bar.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
When I look at power as being a very important part of life, right? And power imbalances are probably the only way that you can really offend me, right? When Louis C.K. got in trouble for like literally just whipping his junk out and like playing with himself in front of people that frankly were not in a position to fight back, okay? That's a power imbalance that there's just a very sacred thing there where it's like when you've been trusted with authority over people, that's when it becomes an issue for me, right? I am just like, I think any thinking person, like I am disappointed in racism, right? But I actually like it better when they self-identify, right? I like it better when people are like, hey, I'm closed-minded, stay away from me. That,
yeah, well, you know the landscape then.
but I also don't have to deal with the consequence.
Correct.
White guy, don't have to,
Yep.
right?
You don't.
But power imbalance figures into that conversation too.
Certainly.
Right. So to the extent that it bothers me, it bothers me because of the power imbalance. It bothers me because someone is taking advantage of a power situation that other people cannot do anything about, or at least not in the moment.
Got it.
But on a more, again, sort of like commercialized outrage, I'm very skeptical. I think a lot of times people will create a situation where they can have a conversation about their brand or their point of view or their whatever, right? I think a current president is pretty good at pushing the buttons, but not not necessarily for the reasons that a well-oiled machine would do it. I think he pushes it to create the fog of war, right? Like if everything feels like it's too much, then everybody will push away from the news channel, right? I think that's where that comes from. It's not a push a button to talk about a product, not a push a button to talk about like calling your congressman, right? Push a button to get everybody to stop paying attention to the news because it's just too much, right? They're exhausted. I just read today, it was something like 67% feel exhausted when he communicates officially now, right?
I believe it.
I think when you look at something like a movie causing controversy, that's manufactured. This person who is white got cast into this role that is color has merit. That conversation has merit, right? Scarlett Johansson was supposed to be Japanese in the one movie, and everybody was like, that's fine, right? And on like a pretty fundamental level, you should be like, okay, we need to work that out, right? But there was so much noise about the subject, it kind of felt like that no such thing as bad press.
No question.
And my skepticism kicks in.
Just spell my name right.
Yeah, just push the button, push the button, push the button.
It's a little Mick Jagger thing, right? Say whatever the fuck you want about me to make sure Jagger's with 2 G's.
Yep, right.
Right? Is that right?
Yeah.
Yeah, there's 2 G's. So.
There's a famous story about him coming to Pittsburgh to buy a car.
Jagger?
Yeah.
Oh, let's hear it.
Well, he didn't come to buy a car, but he tried to buy a car while he was in town.
Okay.
And if I'm not mistaken, it was over in Shadyside. I don't know what the dealership was called at that point, but it was one of the European shops over in Shadyside, and this would have been like the 70s or 80s. And he looked like some dude. He
like
looked,
Mick.
yeah, I mean, just but you would think that everybody would recognize him, but remember, these were old men. These were like the luxury car salesman guys back there.
No clue.
Did not listen to long hairs, right?
Right.
So they kicked him out.
Are you serious?
My friend worked there at the time.
That's hysterical.
That friend's no longer with us. I wish he was here.
That's hysterical.
I want so many details on that story. He passed like 10 years ago, but he was full of stories like that. And one of them was, he's like, yeah.
Couldn't sell Jagger car.
Like, hey, long hair. No, he like the salesman.
Called him long hair.
The sales manager on the shop floor was like, hey, long hair. What do you think you're doing in here?
Wow.
And my guy at the time was he was a much younger man at the time. He had just gotten out of the service, and he was the finance guy. And he's like looking from the perch, because remember, whenever you go to that finance office, you're away from everybody else, right?
Sure, right.
And he looks out and he's like, "That's Mick Jagger." And they're like, "Shut up, hippie, go back to work."
That's great. That's great. Thank you, my friend.
Absolutely. Thanks for having me.
This is awesome. It was everything I was hoping for and more. Yeah.
That is the only time I've ever delivered to that extent.
Well, I'll get out of here. Salute. Buddy.
Thanks, man.
Salute.
I appreciate you having me in.
About what? So, what's up for Pitchwerks? What's in your immediate future here?
So Pitchwerks will come back in 2020.
Okay.
We finished 2019 with a nice interview with the mayor. Where I got to ask him the question that's been bugging me for like 2 years, which is, why do you do your own social media? And it's one of my favorite conversations we've ever done.
That's great.
I mean, it's a totally Scot question. Like, it's it's one of those interviews he's never done before. He'll never do again.
He'll never do it again. That's
No.
part.
It's a unique thing, right?
Got it.
I don't want to do the same interview everybody else is doing.
Not.
Hey,
Absolutely.
why don't you tell me about bike lanes?
Yeah.
And then as far as me personally, I will become Mr. Amazon. Like basically, if it's AWS, it's going to be me here in just a couple of weeks. So
Congratulations.
it's going to be fun.
That's awesome.
It's an interesting challenge.
I
mean,
can't even imagine.
you don't even know how many people have been working, like these companies that have been working with Amazon don't even have access to like 10% of what's possible.
Wow.
Amazon in 2019 turned out something like 1,400 new features. 1,400 new features on the platform. And this is actually, like you were asking earlier about like people being guided and that sort of thing. That's where my head's at on complexity.
Got it.
Right? I think about these things and it's like they're going to keep improving their products and refining their products and finding enhancements. They're not waiting for you to catch up because these things need to exist.
Right. I
So
get
you
it.
need a Sherpa to be like,
I get
okay,
it.
I've been up the mountain 25 times so far. I'll get you there.
Good for you.
Thanks, brother.
Pitchwork continues, all right?
Yeah. So what we'll do, I needed to take some time off because, and take this for what it's worth.
Sure.
Podcasts are at a point where they need to decide whether or not they want people to be safe, guests to be safe, by creating a particular persona. And it's this. If you want to do great as a podcast guest, here's how you do it. You come in with a little bit of fake humility or real humility. I mean, either one will do. And you go, man, I'm just trying my best, right?
Okay.
And you kind of, you remember that time when you were just rolling quarters out of the couch to make rent, man. And, it's been a long journey and I'm quite blessed. And all the people that I work with are the best. That's the product we create as podcasters. That's the product we create. Now, we don't do it intentionally. We start off and we say, like, I want to talk to people that are doing X. I want to advance the conversation on Y. But then you find out that there's like a sort of, I don't know, like, if I had to categorize it, I'd say like an indie rock guest that we're all sort of framed around. It's like the front man from Weezer is on every week. And
Okay.
it's all those things I was just describing. And some of my guests are nothing like that. Some of my guests are like that even though they're being genuine. And some of my guests, that's their public-facing persona. Here's the problem. I can't tell the difference anymore. Like, I don't think I could tell the difference in the beginning. But once you know, though, that there's a way to hack the system, where if you come on with this aw shucks, again, like I play in a band with a banjo in it, right? But it's an ironic banjo. No. Once you've got that, you get this like free pass, and then everybody's rooting for you.
So it's a show.
Yeah. But I mean, like, I want to make sure that the next version of my show is less hackable. I don't want to say unhackable.
Interesting.
I want it to be less hackable.
And how do you do that? Besides doing your homework ahead of time.
I think it has more to do with what we are particularly proud of, which is the spontaneous nature of our like
it comes across
like people don't know what's coming. I don't share the questions in advance.
Yeah, I don't either.
Fact, I don't know the questions.
I didn't send you any, did I?
No, you did not. Right?
I will not.
But I got to take that and make it even stronger. I've got to make sure that when you decide that this person is worth listening to, that you're making the right decision.
Okay.
In terms of my responsibility to my audience, that's what's important. Is I don't want you to buy into following a thing because you are valuable to them as a click.
I get it.
So I have to make sure that they're on their toes, because that's how. I mean, if you want to shake somebody's mask off, that's how you do it.
Right.
You give them questions hard that they didn't know were coming. They can still enjoy themselves they will enjoy themselves as long as they're not trying to remember what their character would say in this situation, right? And I think when we started, what we do was fast enough pace and a good enough challenge.
Okay.
I think now the challenge needs to be a little stronger because I think there's a cynicism and there is there are media consultants. Like if you know you're going to be on CNN, you probably have a media consultant.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah, it's a little contrived.
And there's somebody who says like, Mr. Clinton, whenever you speak, make this hand gesture, right? Don't do this weird flappy thing that you do with your hands, right? Mm-hmm. And they, right? All these little moves add up to this like, okay, well,
they're selling it.
They have to. Again, we're back to the more you get into a thing, the more complex it becomes.
Got it.
Right?
It's good advice.
So when TV interviews first came around, they didn't even know to put powder on Nixon's face, remember? Like, this is something we learned in high school, right?
Right.
And then somebody was like, okay, put powder on his face and he won't look like he's going to vomit at any moment, right?
Yeah.
And from there, we ended up with, like, a makeup booth and then a hair person and a makeup person. And then, like,
They used to distort. Bill O'Reilly used to have his face distorted around the facial area. They would take the resolution down to 360p from like 1080 where they broadcast.
Good Lord!
Because he had acne. There was some kind of he didn't like the way his face was. So they would actually. You can go back and it's on YouTube. Go back and look at. I am not kidding you. Whenever he was on that show on Fox, they would actually pixelate his face, so you couldn't clearly see it. HD, I guess, was initially not the friend of most newscasters.
That's true.
Correct?
Right, because that's not the environment they were hired in. You can't just go and fire everybody and be like, sorry, we bought better lenses. Sorry. We know you've been at this for a long time, but Pennsylvania is an at-will state, so
that's great.
Yeah, your last check's down with Marcy, and all your crap's in a box.
Get the fuck out.
Yeah, right.
Oh man,
I would love that. Just be like, sorry, we went to HD. You're all fired.
You're all fired.
Or we all went to we went to HD. You're all in the radio side now.
Yeah, got a face for radio.
You know what? Your health teacher told you not to pop those pimples. That's all I can say, Bill.
Yeah, that was going on, and you were looking at the screen going, something's not right. You're trying to adjust your TV.
Oh, dude.
Unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Thank you, buddy.
Fingertips above the water, you watch me drown. You could have saved me, but you let me down. Yeah.